Hi and welcome to another live stream. We have some people in the chat, and if you're new here today, you can join us in the chat for this live stream. If you subscribe and then wait for, I think, a minute or something, and you can join us. Kelly, welcome. Beth is back. Good to have you. Ariana is here. Great. It is a heat wave indeed on this side of the world. It's probably worse on literally every part of the world except Australia right now, but we're Dutch, or in Beth's case, British, so we're suffering for real. Alright, last week I did a drawing and it was a good drawing. I'll explain to you in a little bit why it was a good drawing. And then I wiped oil paint and Gamsol over it without fixating it, and my drawing was gone. Like, there was nothing left of said drawing. So these live streams are to learn stuff, but I feel like mostly it's me doing stupid things that you can then avoid. That will be my unique selling point from now on. So if you ever want to get rid of your drawing and you don't have an eraser, oil paint and Gamsol will do the trick. I pre-mixed some values, and for this live stream I am going to resort back to the low chroma paints that I kind of know well, at least better than weird purple, blue, other kinds of adventures that we had. So today I have Old Holland's Van Dyck Brown Extra. Not sure where the extra comes from. It's also known as Castle or Castle Earth. I'm not really sure. It's a mixed pigment or a mixed paint, and in this case it consists of PR 101, which I think is burnt sienna. Is it burnt sienna or is it transparent red iron oxide? One of the two. So it's red iron, and then it's yellow iron, and then there's a lot of black, bone black. So it's a mix of red, ochre, yellow ochre, and black, which is essentially a, what's the dude's name? Ooh, I'm melting. Zorn. A Zorn palette. It's basically a Zorn palette in a tube. I have water. I did your lesson last week on replay. Great. That's great. No AC. No AC here as well. So the thing with Dutch people know, like the country and the buildings that we build, the houses we build, is we don't really do AC because, you know, we're Dutch. It's always pretty cold here, but now it's getting warmer. We're stuck here without AC. Hi, Linda. All right. I took some time mixing 5 values. I'm gonna be very short about it. It was another struggle as it is. The one thing that I did do is I mixed my mid-tone. Yeah, so this is the absolute mid-tone. And what I tried to do in previous live streams is get it sort of corresponding with the palette, because the palette is supposed to be 50%. gray. But I made it a little bit lighter because depending on how this goes, aka if it turns out okay, I might want to do some glazing or maybe some coloring thingies next week. And if so, I would like everything to be a little bit lighter, okay, so it doesn't get too dark. So this mid-tone is a little bit lighter, and I tried my best to make the steps somewhat balanced. All right, I'm gonna grab my reference photo. So I did the drawing again. I think I made it a little bit bigger. Than last week. And I'm gonna try and not put in too much paint all at once. Just sort of get an idea of which value goes where. Didn't need AC until recently. Yeah, it's definitely becoming a bit of a problem. And the other problem we have in countries like the UK and Netherlands, you know, that are relatively cold countries, but not severely cold. Not like Norway cold, you know what I mean? Is that what we did for a long time, and I feel like we're still doing it because we're slow in that department, is we're building houses based on receiving sunlight, right? So we build our living rooms on the south end, and we build large windows and doors with glass, etc., etc. Everything to sort of get as much sun as we can, and now we're going to suffer because of it. So enough about the heat wave. That is one thing to complain about, right? How are you all doing? How are you doing? What have you been doing? Linda has blackout curtains. That is, I actually have those as well. I tend to close them in the, after the morning. I close them because I'm very high up in my apartment building, so I catch all the sun. Ooh, tinted. Yeah, that's also good. Ariana does the early morning walks painting, sitting in a tiny pool with an alcohol-free beer. That sounds so good. All right, let's try and block in these darker, areas a little bit quicker. And we can so normally I wouldn't do this darkest value here because the darkest value would probably be reserved here, right, for the hair. But I'm gonna try and mix it in a little bit and not be too strict about what goes where. Like I tend to be sometimes. All right. Let's see. Kids in a pool. Nice. I have to have LED light bulbs due to... Oh, really? Oof, that sounds rough. So certain types of light affect that? I had no idea. All right. So I'm sort of trying to place these values a little bit next to each other, right? So this area here, it looks like a gradient in the photo, but I'm just trying to do 1 value, 2 value, 3 value. And not do a whole lot of blending at this point. Right, so basically trying to avoid blending altogether. Because the thing with blending too soon, I've noticed, is that you kind of lose track of the edges of your planes in a stage where maybe you want to make corrections. So if you blend this and blend this, then you lose track of where you put those lines that indicate those, you know, changes in angle. And if you find this confusing or too blocky to work with, just try and squint your eyes or take your glasses off. Something like that. I've noticed that paintings need a lot less blending than I used to think they do. Right? Because we're very focused on the area that we're working on, so we're thinking, ooh, this is not looking good. And then when you step away a little bit, yeah, you can usually get away with that. This is going to be a lot of breaks type of live stream. Let me catch up. Yeah, wow, that's just, you know, regarding undiagnosed health issues. It's like you said, Linda, just the knowing helps. Like things click in your brain. I had two things that went undiagnosed for a long time, and one was a heart condition, which is kind of like you don't really know how to interpret that other than, I guess I'm not dead yet, so, right? And then the hospital was like, oh yeah, by the way, you have this. And all of a sudden I was like, okay, now I don't have to worry about it anymore, right? That's a stupid thing about having things without knowing exactly what it is. I'm gonna have to look up a little bit about lupus because I don't know a lot about it. All right, let's no longer avoid the eye socket. All right, so this area here all looks light, and it's very tempting to take that value, this value, and pull it all the way up here. But let me do this like this, right? So this value, and then take it all the way into here, because sometimes my brain is telling me that's the same value. And what I've learned is that the reason why this looks as light as this, even though it's not, is because this is surrounded by a darker value, and this value is surrounded by this lighter value, right? Because this is this, and this one is this, right? So it kind of messes with your brain that it's all the same stuff, which it's not. So this is this. We're gonna put this here. One of the things I also did, by the way, and that's the reason I said it was a good sketch, is I checked it in Photoshop. So this is one of those things where I used to wonder, like, am I supposed to be doing this? Am I cheating? When am I not thinking that I'm cheating? I don't know what that is. Probably some kind of imposter syndrome or something. So I will take a photo of my sketch and lay it over either the photo or a digital sketch of the photo, right? You can just trace the photo and use that. It's usually easier because all you see is lines, so it's easier to check. And I check it over my the photo of my sketch and see if anything is, you know, terribly off. And I do this basically because I don't have anyone to correct me, right? So if you're me, then maybe you also don't really have a mentor. I never really had a teacher or a mentor. So, what are you gonna do? Sorry, I'm just holding my breath, putting the eyes in. So you gotta correct yourself, and it's very difficult. And I'm sure a lot of people don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. It's not an efficient way to work. Like, if you have money to spend, for the love of everything, just get a mentor or a mentorship. But if not, then you gotta correct yourself. So Photoshop and me, we're correcting ourselves. Yeah, we are learning so much. I love watching that, thank you. I like our multitasking. How is the glare? Let me check. That's not bad. I have a standing doctor's appointment and I asked her to change my time. That's probably the biggest compliment ever. Does your doctor know? Like, you're doing the medicinal live streams on Wednesday? All right. So you're gonna notice that if you paint like this with little paint, you're gonna have these areas, right? That are gonna peek through. And I usually try and address them a little bit towards the end. Because a lot of times it's on the edge between one value and the other. And kind of all you need to decide is how you want to sort of link them together. Okay, don't. She was all for it. Snarrow therapy said yes. Cool. That sounds like a good doctor approved. You're going fast because of excellent drawing. Yeah, it helps, right? Hi, Misty. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, so the drawing, and I think we talked about it last week, right? It's something I gotta get in my head. Like, it helps to put in the time to do it, to put time and effort into it, even though you feel like, no, I wanna get to painting. All right, so let's fill this up a little bit and get that hairline shape in there. Because we're dealing with only values here, we don't have to worry too much about color transitions, chroma, whatnot. All right. Yeah, so this needs work. Where are we at? 40 minutes. Painting along with you. Oh, that's cool. That's really nice. Saw such a huge difference when you taught that in front of, yeah. Yep, we don't want to do it, but we know it's, yeah. You know, with these things, sorry, by the way, I have 2 ear infections, so I'm not hearing myself properly sometimes. But the thing with this is, at some point, I just accepted that I'm gonna be doing the drawings, and then I'm gonna be like, yeah, this works. See, it works. See, brain, it works. And then 2 days later, I'm like, nah, I don't need that. I don't need that anymore. So I go back, and then I'm like, why is my painting failing? Because of the drawings. And I go back and forth like that. And I have been going back and forth on pretty much everything in my life for 42 years. So right now, I'm like, all right, if the going back and forth is how I work, I'm just gonna run with it, right? Maybe when I'm 50, it'll change. Maybe when I'm 80, it will not change. Probably. But some people just need to learn a lesson every Monday morning. What are you gonna do about it? All right, let's, yeah. Grab this one. I still need to put so much work in learning to sketch. Very necessary. Yeah. But you paint such fun things, Ariana. So I understand that you just want to get to painting. So the values here in this area are all quite close together. And what we tend to do sometimes is we tend to draw the mouth, like the lines, which is usually not the way to go. So these are very subtle transitions. Right, so these values here, they're all in that same 3 value range. Oop. All right, so I'm just trying to work into those areas that don't have paint yet. All right, all right. I love sketching. Sometimes I want to get to yes. Welcome to the club. Yeah, you make such fun paintings, Ariana. I just learned a new technique for me to splash around paint on the background, make lots of marks, overlay the sketch on the background on the phone, and from the, oh, that's really cool. That's really fun. Hi, Elizabeth. I am not finished yet, no. We still have 15 minutes on the clock. I used to, maybe I should do that again. It was fun times. I had this stash of acrylic ink and a spray bottle. Please cover your laptops and other electronic devices because it's gonna go everywhere. And sometimes I would spray the paper and then I would drop the ink in, which creates really cool effects. Or I would drop the ink and then spray the paper. The latter is messy and spray. Yeah, and then I would just paint like faces on top of it. Yeah, it's not half bad. Kiddo. I feel like I misaligned the eyes a little bit here. That might be good enough. 10 minutes to do, let's see. No posting, me too. I told Dylan I was gonna post more casually on Instagram, but maybe I'm just not a casual person. I also genuinely haven't finished enough stuff. Like, I have an expo in October and I am beyond screwed. It's yep. I gotta get to work. Like, I have stuff going on, but it's just all... I'm gonna finish it. Am I gonna toss it? You never know. I admire how you can combine painting and chat. Yes, we're learning, right? Where's the expo? Here in Zeist, in the Netherlands. I have one small expo, just one weekend here in Zeist, and then in 2026 I have one in Holland. All right, here's the thing. I'm very bad at place names. I tend to swap place names in my head and then be totally convinced that this is, you know, the place. And then other Dutch people who know place names are like, what in the world are you talking about? So my expo in 2026 is in Den Bosch. It's either Den Bosch or it's Breda. There's nothing wrong with my IQ, by the way, in case you're wondering. Okie doke. All right, maybe put in a little bit of... I'll probably do the background tomorrow and just record like a little reel or something. Yeah, and I'll make the background. Maybe we can do the background dark, I suppose. A little bit lighter, I think, than the hair would be nice. All right. Yeah, you should come, Ariana. It's yeah, I will send you the info. And I will probably record some stuff and make a video like last time with my last expo. There's gonna be music as well, so I'll be doing a recording of that as well, so maybe I can mix up a little video. That would be cool. Fantastic value handling, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. I will probably work on this just a little bit more like in terms of refinement tomorrow. So I will make sure to record that for you. I think it's decent progress in an hour. I kind of have to train myself that I don't have to do crazy stuff in an hour that I don't usually do in an hour, and that it's fine that I do some stuff afterwards, right? In preparation for next week. I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do next week. I need to think about that. We could potentially do some glazing and a little bit of color stuff. I've never done that live, so freak me out. But yeah, we'll see. I think it'll definitely be dry next week with these temperatures. All right, so thank you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, Beth, Kelly, Elizabeth, Oriana, Linda. Nice. I love your comments. I love our live streams. I do. But I'm gonna take a shower now because I'm dripping with sweat. It's not even funny. Gonna take a shower. I hope you have a good day or a good night if you're in Europe. And I love you. And I will see you next week or on social media. Post your artworks on social media, please, for my pleasure. Thank you. I will see you next week. Bye bye. Mwah.